There's a tiny island off the coast of Nova Scotia where people have been digging for treasure for 231 years. They've spent millions of dollars. 6 people have died. And to this day, nobody has found what they're looking for. Nobody's even sure it exists. This is the story of Oak Island, the deepest, most expensive, most stubborn treasure hunt in human history. Let's start at the very beginning. The year is 1795. A teenager named Daniel McGinnis is exploring a small wooded island called Oak Island, and he notices something odd. In a clearing, there's a circular depression in the ground, like something had been buried, and the earth had sunk in over it. Above it, hanging from an old oak tree, is a block and tackle, the kind of pulley you'd use to lower something very heavy into the ground. Now, this is the golden age of pirate legends. Captain Kidd, Blackbeard, everyone's grandmother had a story about buried pirate gold. So McGinnis does what any teenager would do. He grabs two friends and starts digging. 2 feet down, they hit a layer of flagstones. 10 feet down, a platform of oak logs. They pull it out and keep going. 20 feet, another log platform. 30 feet, another. Every 10 feet, someone had deliberately placed a wooden floor. This wasn't natural. Somebody built this. Somebody went to enormous effort to bury something deep and to make it hard to reach. The boys couldn't dig any further on their own. But the legend of the money pit was born. For the next few decades, the mystery only deepened. Literally. In 1803, a company came back with more men and money. They dug down past 90 feet, finding a log platform every 10 feet, and sometimes layers of charcoal, putty, and a strange fibrous material. Coconut fiber. Coconuts. In Nova Scotia, thousands of miles from where coconuts grow. And then, around 90 feet, they supposedly found the most famous clue of all, a flat stone, carved with strange symbols. When someone eventually tried to translate it, the message allegedly read, 40 feet below, 2 million pounds are buried. 2 million pounds. That's when the fever really took hold. But the pit had a defense. The diggers went a little deeper, and the pit flooded. Overnight, it filled with 60 feet of water. They bailed and couldn't win. Every time they pumped it out, it filled right back up. Here's the part that turned a treasure story into a legend. They eventually discovered that the flooding wasn't an accident. Down at a nearby beach called Smith's Cove, someone had built an elaborate system of drains, 5 stone channels, fanning out like fingers, feeding into a tunnel. The whole beach had been engineered into a giant booby trap. Dig too deep in the money pit, and you'd trip a flood tunnel that pulled seawater straight into the shaft. Think about that. Whoever buried this thing didn't just dig a hole. They built a booby-trapped, self-flooding vault by hand, possibly centuries ago, on a deserted island. That is an insane amount of work to protect something. As the decades rolled on, the hunt got bigger, more expensive, and more dangerous. In 1861, the first death. A pump boiler burst, and a man was killed, the first life the island would take. Money ran out. Companies went bankrupt. But someone always came back. The island had a way of pulling people in and not letting go. In 1909, a young lawyer joined a dig here. His name was Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Yes, that Franklin Roosevelt, the future president. He stayed fascinated by Oak Island for the rest of his life. Then in 1965, the island took 4 more. A man named Robert Restall, his son, and 2 others died in a shaft, overcome by fumes from a pump engine, one collapsing while trying to save the others. That brought the death toll to 6, and it fed the island's darkest piece of folklore, an old legend that says the treasure will only be found once 7 men have died searching for it. 6 have died, 1 to go. By now you might be asking the obvious question. After 2 centuries, what have people actually found down there? And the answer is tantalizing scraps, a few links of gold chain, a scrap of parchment with old ink on it, proving someone literate was down there. That carved stone, and more recently with modern excavation, even stranger things. A lead cross whose design has been traced to medieval Europe, bits of bone, wood, and metal carbon dated centuries before any European was supposed to be here. Just enough to prove something is going on. Never enough to prove what. Which brings us to the big question. Who built it and what's inside? Nobody knows, but there are theories. Theory 1. Pirates. The classic answer. Captain Kidd or some other pirate buried a fortune here. It fits the era and the location. But building a booby-trapped 100-foot flooding vault is far more engineering than a pirate on the run would ever bother with. Theory 2. The Knights Templar. The medieval artifacts and that lead cross have fueled the idea that the Templars hid a sacred treasure here. Maybe even the Holy Grail or the Ark of the Covenant. Wild? Yes. But it would explain the age of some of the finds. Theory 3. It's nothing. Some geologists argue the whole thing is natural. The island sits on limestone and gypsum, which dissolve into underground caves and sinkholes. The log platforms and flood tunnels, they say, are natural formations that excited imaginations turned into a treasure map. And that's the maddening beauty of Oak Island. Every answer has a hole in it. Which brings us to today. Since 2014, two brothers from Michigan, Rick and Marty Lagina, have been running the most advanced treasure hunt in the island's history, documented on television for millions of viewers. They've got excavators, ground-penetrating radar, carbon dating, and a whole team of experts. And in 2026, they wrapped their most artifact-rich year yet. Over 1,000 finds, a man-made stone platform dated to the 1200s, medieval clues stacking up. They're closer than anyone's ever been to understanding the island. But here's the thing. After 231 years, millions of dollars, 6 deaths, and everything modern technology can throw at it, the central mystery is still exactly what it was for that teenager in 1795. Somebody buried something on Oak Island. They went to unbelievable lengths to protect it. And we still don't know who, or what, or why. The hole is still there, the water still floods in, and the treasure, if there ever was one, is still waiting. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. Thanks for watching.